Hey everybody, I saw a poll recently about what our kids want to be when they grow up, and it turns out YouTube is super important. Let's talk about it. Our kids want to be YouTube stars. I mean, heck, even adults do. Let's talk some numbers. In 2005, YouTube aired its first video called Me at the Zoo, uploaded by one of its co-founders. The site was subsequently purchased only 18 months later for over $1.5 billion. Clearly, this is lightning in a bottle. Today, there are almost 2 billion active monthly users. 6 out of 10 people prefer YouTube to traditional TV, and 70% of the views come from mobile devices with an average watch time of 40 minutes per session. Well, what about kids and YouTube? So 81% of parents search YouTube to show their kids something. And I'm as guilty as anyone. Sometime the car got to go where the car got to get to, and YouTube is going to grease those skids. So, yeah, the most popular branded channel on the entire platform for all ages is Lego. The highest earning YouTube channel is Ryan Toys Review. It earned $22 million in 2018. 48% of 3 to 4-year-olds watch YouTube, 71% of 5 to 7-year-olds, and 90% of 12 to 15-year-olds. Children are considered the largest consumer demographic on the platform. YouTube has a lot of problems when it comes to kids, but I think one of the biggest is moderating children's content. There's no real editorial review, so to speak, of that content. There's some bots running around. In some cases, people are reviewing certain videos, but this is way different than sort of old media. Like when you have TV, you have not only FCC regulations for what can be broadcast, but you have a content creating company or production company that's making something very specific for a channel with a script, and everyone's reviewing that, deciding if it's for their audience or not, and that sort of thing. And that type of editorial review applied in newspapers and magazines and to some degree in radio, and it doesn't really happen anymore, right? Not on YouTube. Anyone can pretty much put up anything and call it whatever they want with a large degree of anonymity. So we get these sort of creepy Spider-Man Elsa videos that are just sort of crazy, marketed directly to kids. Some videos that are sort of secretly sexualized and have some explicit content in there. Otherwise, innocent videos being promoted by pedophile rings. And I think in some cases it's sort of easy for kids to follow suggestions and drift away from more of the kids type content into more mature content. Even the kids filter on the YouTube Kids platform is really not perfect, and they say so in their user agreement. You have to agree that you could still see some explicit stuff. But even when that filter does work on YouTube Kids, much of that content is still unredeemable garbage. I read this article by a child therapist who's concerned about the increased number of issues they see related to YouTube specifically. They point out 3 problems for which parents come to them. The first is that kids are watching sexually explicit videos and acting those out with other people. They're watching scary content and developing some fears, and they're copying pranks and stunts and that type of thing. So what precipitated this rant is that a few months ago, Lego had a poll taken of about 3,000 kids in the US, China, and UK. And it turns out more kids in the US and UK want to be YouTube stars or vloggers than astronauts. Only 11% of our kids want to go into space, while 29% of them want to be vloggers and YouTube personalities. I don't know that this is terribly surprising on its face, as even today there's just not that much interest in NASA. Launching people and things into space has become sort of routine. But the real message is that being a YouTube star is in first place now, followed by being a teacher, then a professional athlete, and then a musician. And I can't help think that a large part of that attraction of most of these things, actually, but especially being a YouTube star, is enjoying a certain amount of popularity, right? A certain level of affirmation. And at a certain age, being popular and feeling liked seems like the most important thing in your life, right? Is it okay that our kids want that in the form of being a YouTube personality? I think what bothers me most about that is the constant search for affirmation. In other words, getting those likes or those views on social media by creating a stunt burger on Instagram, or featuring your boobs in a how-to video on YouTube, or giving up a career to put yourself on an exhausting 1 video per day treadmill popularized by Casey Neistat, a program that a lot of YouTubers credit their success with. Is any of this healthy for the creator, or is it akin to falling off a cliff while taking that extra special selfie? When our kids say they want to be YouTube stars, that's essentially the path they're putting themselves on in my mind. A constant search for external affirmation, burning themselves out, putting out content constantly, measuring themselves against other content producers, being judged by the masses on what's now the largest recognizable media stage in the world. We know this isn't healthy for creators, right? I mean, you can look around and see that some of the most popular YouTube creators are either falling apart or becoming these monstrous caricatures. They got to keep that hamster wheel spinning, chasing a carrot called I Like Me. And all the while, they're just projecting the success and happiness that make our kids idolize them. So this seems pretty destructive to me. I've had multiple viral videos and had moderate success on YouTube. And I can tell you that I've experienced sort of all of those feelings. There's the rush of affirmation when a video takes off and baiting my tender ego in the golden accolades. And the views, the thumbs up, the sub count increases, and it all leads to a yearning to make the next big hit. And, it's like a drug. I'm going to start this next point by acknowledging that to YouTube's credit, they've created many millionaires out of people who would not otherwise have had that opportunity. But for most creators, there are significant money stressors involved with a YouTube career. And not only do subscribers demand more content and tell you so, but you take on financial obligations that have to be met with more videos, right? You have subscriptions to editing software, music providers, sound effects, camera, lighting, new equipment. These things cost money whether or not you're making hit videos, right? The beast must be fed dollars as well as your feelings. Producing videos that attract a higher CPM or more advertising dollars per view, and most importantly, take as little time as possible to produce are the key if YouTube is your career. And this tends to drive creators to low-quality mass appeal videos with certain titles and certain thumbnails I think that we would all recognize. And I guess that's capitalism, but in many cases, little consideration is left for a creator's integrity, right? Then you have to contend with the ever-looming specter of an algorithm shift or an adpocalypse event or demonetization, a huge risk for any YouTube creator. And at any rate, the point is to make it financially on YouTube is not easy. It's one thing to make it your career when you're living at home with your parents, and it's another to count on it to raise a family of four, send your kids to college, and pay for insurance. The emotional ups and downs, the addiction of recognition, the externalization of one's self-worth, the financial instability of a social media career. I question the overall mental health of many YouTubers, but I suppose this is little different than TV or movie celebrity, except maybe this time any child can turn on their cell phone camera and put themselves on a never-ending, never-satiating treadmill of social media popularity.